Imagine a world more connected than you might think. A vibrant network of powerful empires trading, building, and flourishing across the Mediterranean. This was the Late Bronze Age, a golden era for civilizations like the Egyptians, the Hittites in modern-day Turkey, the Mycenaeans in Greece, and the thriving cities of the Levant. They built colossal monuments, wrote on clay tablets, and sailed vast trade routes exchanging copper, tin, grain, and gold. It was a world of gods and kings, of chariots and bronze weapons, a seemingly stable and prosperous international system. But then, in the span of a single generation around 1200 BCE, it all came crashing down. Cities were burned to the ground, NPR's Banisid trade routes dried up, and entire writing systems were lost. This catastrophic event is known as the Late Bronze Age collapse, one of the greatest mysteries in human history. And at the heart of this mystery is a shadowy group of raiders known only by the name their victims gave them: the Sea Peoples. Who are these enigmatic invaders? Egyptian records are our primary source, and they paint a terrifying picture. Inscriptions at Medinet Habu, the mortuary temple of Pharaoh Ramesses III, describe a confederation of peoples from the sea, a fearsome alliance that had already laid waste to the Hittite Empire and the cities of the coast. The inscriptions said the foreign countries made a conspiracy in their islands. All at once, the lands were removed and scattered in the fray. No land could stand before their arms. Ramesses III claims to have heroically defeated them in two major battles, one on land and one in the Nile Delta. The temple walls are covered in dramatic reliefs showing chaotic naval battles, with Egyptian ships clashing against the invaders' distinctive horned helmets and round shields. These carvings give us names for the various tribes within this confederation: the Pel, the Jekor, the Shekelesh, the Denayan, and the Weshet. But these names only deepen the mystery. Where did they come from? The Peleset are the most famous group, widely believed to be the Philistines who later settled on the coast of Canaan. As mentioned in the Bible, this connection is supported by archaeological finds in Philistine cities, like pottery, that closely resembles Mycenaean Greek styles. This suggests that at least some of the Sea Peoples might have been displaced Greeks, perhaps from the collapsing Mycenaean palace-states. What about the others? The Shekelesh might have come from Sicily, the Denaya, possibly from Anatolia, and the Shuk, another group mentioned in earlier records, are often linked to Sardinia. The problem is, these are all just educated guesses. The Sea Peoples left no written records of their own. They appear on the world stage as a destructive force, burn everything down, and then either vanish or assimilate into the local populations. They are ghosts in the historical record, defined only by the chaos they left behind. For a long time, the simple explanation was that these seafaring barbarians were the sole cause of the Bronze Age collapse, a tidal wave of destruction, sweeping across the civilized world. It's a compelling story, but modern archaeology tells us it's not that simple. The Sea Peoples were more likely a symptom of the collapse, not its single cause. Think of it like a perfect storm. The late 13th century BCE was a time of immense climate change. Studies of ancient pollen and lake sediments show a period of prolonged drought and cooling across the eastern Mediterranean. This would have led to widespread famine. Imagine crops failing year after year. Entire populations would have been starving, desperate, and on the move, looking for new lands to settle. This widespread migration and social upheaval could have easily destabilized the great empires. Starving people don't pay taxes, and they don't make good soldiers. On top of the famine, there was political instability. The great powers, the Hittites and the Egyptians, had exhausted themselves fighting each other for centuries, culminating in the famous Battle of Kadet. While they eventually signed the world's first known peace treaty, both empires were weakened. Internally, the rigid palace economies of the Mycenaeans and Hittites were incredibly fragile. Everything was centrally controlled by the king. If that central authority was disrupted, say, by an earthquake, a rebellion, or a food shortage, the entire system would shatter. And we have evidence for all of these things. Many cities, like Ugarit in Syria, show signs of massive earthquakes right before they were destroyed. So, you have famine, systemic weakness, and natural disasters all happening at once. Now, introduce the Sea Peoples into this chaotic environment. Were they a migrating horde of hungry refugees driven from their homes by climate change? Or were they opportunistic pirates and mercenaries taking advantage of the turmoil? The answer is probably both. Some were likely displaced peoples looking for a new home, fighting out of desperation. Others were likely bands of raiders who saw the weakening empires as easy targets. The Egyptian reliefs showed the sea peoples traveling with their families and acts, which certainly suggests a migration, not just a military raid. They weren't just coming to plunder and leave. They were coming to stay. So, instead of a single cause, we have a cascade of failures. Climate change causes famine, which causes mass migration and social unrest. This weakens the centralized empires, making them vulnerable. Then, opportunistic raiders and migrating groups the sea, delivering the final, fatal blow to an already teetering system. They were the last domino to fall in a long and complex chain of events. The aftermath was a true dark age. The great palaces were gone. The complex trade networks vanished. Even the art of writing was lost in many regions, including Greece, for hundreds of years. Populations plummeted. Life became more rural, more isolated, and poorer. It was a societal reset button, but out of these ashes, new civilizations would eventually rise. In Greece, the vacuum left by the Mycenaeans would eventually give way to the city-states of the classical era, like Athens and Sparta. The Levant, the destruction of the old Canaanite cities, and the weakening of Egypt allowed new groups, like the Israelites and the Phoenicians, to establish their own kingdoms and identities. The Phoenicians, in particular, would take to the seas and create a new trading network that would reconnect the Mediterranean world. And the Philistines, the old Paliset, became a major power in their own right, shaping the destiny of the region for centuries. So, the mystery of the Sea Peoples isn't just about a band of pirates. It has a cautionary tale about how even the most advanced and stable civilizations can be brought to their knees by a combination of environmental disaster, systemic fragility, and human conflict. The Bronze Age collapse shows us that civilization is a delicate balance. When that balance is upset, the consequences can be catastrophic. The Sea Peoples remain shrouded in mystery, a testament to a time when the world was plunged into darkness. Their story is a powerful reminder from the distant past of how quickly things can fall apart and how new worlds are born from the ruins of the old. We may never know exactly who they were or where they came from, but their impact on history is undeniable. They were the harbingers of a new, and for a time, much darker age. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the Bronze Age. If you found this mystery as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest enigmas. What do you think happened? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.